The Mega Drive Mini is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. If you've been to my YouTube page, you'll see that it's one of my favourite consoles of all time. So when the Mini was announced, I just knew I had to get one. But which one? With each region having its own set of exclusive games and pads, which one should I get? In the end, I decided that the Asian version would be the best bang for my buck, and now I'm going to share my experience with you. I'm not big on unboxing videos and whatnot, but part of the Mini's huge selling point is just that and its presentation. The box itself is a work of art, mimicking the original box art, showing you a picture of the Mini and the pads you'll be getting with it. The back is where it really shines though. There you have the box art of all the games you'll be getting on the Mini. It looks so damn cool. It sparks the old kid in you when you used to go into stores and see all those cool box art and dream of playing those games at some point. Well, now you can. With the Asian version you get two 6-button pads. I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, but they are indeed smaller than the original pads, but they feel just as good. Of course my original pads are more worn out over the years, but the Mini's pads feel authentic. The only thing missing in the box is the plug ends. You can use any mobile device plug anyway, which you likely have if you have a phone or tablet or perhaps even a SNES Mini etc, which is what I used. Everything else you need is in the box. I can say Sega have crafted the Mini perfectly. My first original Mega Drive back in the day was an Asian version. Even though I'm from the UK, it was the only one that I had in my local game shop back in the day, and I wasn't waiting any longer to get my hands on that 16-bit beast. I still own my Asian Mega Drive, and you can see that and its little mini brother next to each other. They are the same thing, just one is tiny. Now onto the main menu and games. The layout is wonderfully designed, showing the box arts. While it has remix music playing from the various games, I would often just leave the menu open just because I was enjoying the music. I really like the Gunstar Heroes mix. The menu has some other basic options like 3 wallpaper options. I just set mine to black background like always, and some OK filters, but I leave it on default. You also get 4 save slots for each game, which is handy if you keep getting stuck on certain games. One of the big pluses this Mini has over any other Mini consoles is that by changing the menu's language, it means you also change the region of the game along with the box art. So changing the language to English will bring about the American Genesis games. Changing the language to French will in turn give you the European games. This is a big deal because some games play very differently depending on what region you pick. Which brings us nicely onto the meat of this thing, the games themselves. With 42 games slapped on this beauty, you're not going to be short of anything to play. The Asian Mini has 5 games exclusive to itself, so let's have a look at those. The original Puyo Puyo is on here. Most of you will know this as Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machines. It's a puzzle game. I'm not sure of the differences between regions, as it's not a game I've played a lot of. I'm a fan of games like Puzzle Bobble and Magical Drop, and Puyo Puyo is certainly a game that fits in with those two, so no surprise I enjoyed playing it and look forward to spending more time on it. Sword of Vermilion is an action RPG game. I remember owning this game back in the day, but I wasn't well versed in RPGs back then, so I'll never beat it. Maybe with save slates I'll be able to do it this time around. Another exclusive game is Shining Force 2. I've never actually played this before, and it's one of those games that benefits from you changing the menu region into English, as you can then get the full Western release version of the game. I was only capturing footage for the sake of this video, but I found myself totally drawn in after only a few minutes of playing. I had to force myself away or else I would have ended up spending the whole night playing it. But that just shows how good it was, and it's certainly something I will come back to at some point. OutRun 2019 was certainly a surprise. I mean, its title sounds kind of cheap and it's not something I've even played before, but once again, I put it on just to catch some footage, but I ended up beating the full game. I mean, it's no F-Zero, but I just couldn't help but carry on playing it. I found the music to be great, and many times the only reason I tried so hard to reach the next checkpoint was so the music wouldn't stop. That's crazy, but it just hits home how much I was enjoying the various music tracks and the actual racing tracks themselves, which have some crazy leaps the further you get in. The original Japanese version of this game goes for crazy prices, so it's cool Sega put it on here. The last exclusive game on the Asian Mini is the deciding factor that made me pick up the Asian version over the others, and that is the absolutely awesome game that is Alien Soldier. I can't think of another game that sums up the Mega Drive more perfectly. This is about as Mega Drive as you can get. Insane balls to wall action, big beefy graphics, sound design out of the world banging beats. To me, no other console apart from maybe the Neo Geo back in the day could have done a game like this. This is Platinum Games before Platinum Games. How the game is missing from the other regions is a mystery to me, as it's one of the most sought after Mega Drive games, and yes, it's been released on other collections over the years on various other consoles, but a huge selling point for me was getting to play this on a Sega produced hardware, with a real Sega pad in my hand. It don't get no better than that. Alien Soldier is a fast packed action game, and not playing it for years means I got my ass whooped, but slowly you figure out what weapons are best to use, and when you should be using counter parry and zipping about. Eventually you'll be on your way to being a god, and it's a zealous feeling you'll get playing all the way through, and only highlights further how awesome the Mega Drive is. There are two games that come with all regions whichever you buy, in Darius and Tetris. Darius I believe is made by a bunch of fans based on the original arcade game, and if you know anything about Darius, it's a long running shoot 'em up series, and this game on here is good but hard, but it shows what the Mega Drive could have done with this game. Tetris is, well, Tetris, nothing new there. Even though it's a rare game on the Mega Drive, I always associate Tetris more with the original Game Boy than any other console, but the Mini is not worse for having it on here. Now, owning the original Asian Mega Drive means that I actually already own some of what you might call obscure games found on the system, stuff like Linos or Wrestle Ball, but that didn't put me off buying this Mini. I just knew what those games were beforehand. Wrestle Ball is almost like an anime version of the great Amiga game Speedball 2, which also has a Mega Drive port, so if you like that, then Wrestle Ball is worth playing for sure. still found that the Mini had a few games that I don't own and I've never even heard of before, like Game Nakazunumi Otakunyu, I think that's how you say it, which the in-game menu translates to game value. It is essentially a bunch of mini games stuck together that were originally released on the Japanese Sega channel back in the day. I've not played them all yet, but one game that I got hooked on playing was 16T. You play as a computer programmer who goes into his corrupt program to fix it by throwing 16-ton weights. At first I was like, what the hell is this? But you soon understand that you have to squash everything with your weights and then go on to the next level. It's simple gameplay but addictive, and it has some of the most trippy music you will hear, almost like a dream state. While I think the Asian version is the best mini out of the other regions, it is severely lacking in one genre, that being 1v1 fighters. There is no Eternal Champions, no Street Fighter 2, no Virtua Fighter 2, as if you'd missed that, and no Yu Yu Hakusho, an excellent early developed fighting game made by Treasure, and was one of the main factors of me almost buying the Japanese mini. As far as beat 'em ups go, the Asian version comes with two classic scrolling beat 'em ups, namely the icon game that is Golden Axe. One way or another you've probably seen this game at some point, if not played or owned it. It's one of those games that are part of Sega's massive history, so it's no surprise to find it on here. The other game is the legendary Streets of Rage 2. This game is considered to be one of the best, if not the best scrolling beat 'em ups of all time. It's funny that 20 plus years later I would once again find myself picking Streets of Rage 2 over Street Fighter 2. You see, back in the day, I was very jealous of my Super Nintendo friends, as they had the only home version of Street Fighter 2 World Warrior. You might not think it now, but for those of us back then, that was a big deal. It would be a long time till Street Fighter made its way to the Mega Drive, but I remember seeing a preview to Streets of Rage 2 in a magazine, and this was Sega's answer to not having Street Fighter. I remember how hyped I was, as the sequel looked so much better than the first Streets of Rage. It was now time for my Super Nintendo friends to be jealous of me. Streets of Rage 2 had amazing graphics, fantastic gameplay, and what most people remember the most of all, a soundtrack that sounded like you were actually in a 90s nightclub. If you had any doubt in the powerhouse that was the Mega Drive, they were put to rest right here. The beats coming out of this game were insane, and top of everything else being on point. Like 20 plus years ago, it more than makes up for any void left by Street Fighter. From reliving old memories and finding new and exciting ones, I can say for sure the Mega Drive Mini has been a well worthy purchase. I suggest you look at the full list of each region's game to see what stands out to you, as you might have childhood memories of other things that appeal to you more, but I can say for sure whichever version you buy, it will be money well spent. And yes, this thing will probably get hacked one day soon, but not everyone is into doing that, so what you get out of the box might be more important. For me, getting to play these classics on actual Sega produced hardware is a dream come true, and I sure hope Sega do more minis in the future. As always, thanks for watching and catch you next time.